You're welcome to the Policy Council. My name is Okwemi Agbaje. Today I talk to a young Nigerian entrepreneur in the logistics and technology space. A young man who transformed what was an academic dissertation, or so to speak, into a live business with which he sustains himself and adds value to consumers, including myself. Enjoy the program. You're welcome back. It's still the Policy Council. My guest is an interesting young entrepreneur. He goes by the title of the senior strategist at a company called Bringitbay.com or Bringitbay Limited. Yes, that's the company's name. He has an interesting background: a BSc in economics, an MSc in entrepreneurship and innovation from XX Business School. And I think before, of course, some working career in the banking industry through Access Bank, GT Bank, and Stanbic IBTC, or now Stanbic IBTC, then IBTC Chartered. And he's decided he wants to be an e-commerce entrepreneur, as it were. My guest is Moraki or Beckley. I think people call you Mo Beckley.
They call me Mo, yes.
Okay. So you're welcome to the Policy Council.
Thank you very much.
So tell us, why did you decide to set up Bringitbay, and what's the name Bringitbay about?
First and foremost, the course I did, entrepreneurship and innovation, at some point in time, we were required to either go with a traditional dissertation or do a business plan. And I selected the business plan option, and part of the requirements was, at the end of the day, you would determine whether that business would be successful, would be viable or not. And while doing the research, I found out that business was a bit too expensive. The business I actually wanted to do was a bit too expensive, and the best way for me to actually do a business was to find something and then to scale it down. And then while talking with friends, we sort of scaled it down to a bare bone kind of business. And we came up with this solution to people who were back home in Nigeria and kept on disturbing us. Look, buy me this, buy me that, buy me that. And we said, look, let's build a business around this. And the idea was born. And eventually, the business plan was presented at the Viva for my defense of my business plan. However, the conclusion was that we couldn't start that business. It was too expensive. However, we had scaled it down and we're going to do Bringitbay. And that was exactly how it was born. And the name came about talking with partners, you know, what should we call it, you know. And there was this, look, why don't we say, look, this is a service that brings you Britain while you're in Nigeria. So BR, Britain, in Nigeria. NG. And then
so that's where the Bring It
comes from.
And in any way, what you were being told to do was bring this for me,
bring that for me. And it just sort of like everything was added up, bring it. And then somebody said, why don't you write on eBay? Bay, and then add Bay to the Bring It. And then that's how the Bringitbay became a business.
So basically, this came out of an academic program, which you decided to make real.
It was in pursuit of an academic program. It was not like I intentionally set out.
But why were you pursuing a MSc in entrepreneurship and innovation in the first place?
Sometime after I concluded my university degree, it took me a while to get a job, and it was pretty frustrating. Somewhere along the line, I got introduced to a lot of these motivational books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon, and I stumbled on this very important, what I'll call secret, where you get to build your wealth doing certain things. And yeah, it occurred to me that I could actually do that if I could focus my energy doing certain things. And in the course of doing my, while I was trying to find, okay, what should I do for my postgraduate studies, it occurred to me that I could actually study what actually makes a better entrepreneur, because it really ticked my interest. While I was growing up, I wasn't very good with funding. I mean, holding funds and all of that, and it bothered me. And I said, you know what, if I can actually find a way to manage my finances, I'd actually be a better person. And you know, that put me in, I started a small business, started supplying food to some people at Unilag. You know, so that piqued my interest when I started making some money. The first money I made was 30,000 that time. I put it in the stock market. And I could see all these things I was reading in these books come to fruition. I was seeing a profit, I was seeing a return. And I just had that spirit of entrepreneurship in me. And the moment I also got into GTB, the culture there was such that they would keep you, I mean, you would manage a budget right from your entry level. You would manage a budget of your own, and you'll be asked your P&L is what you come to NPR to discuss. What is your P&L? Where are you? What's your run rate? And all of that. So I got that. That culture of GTB also molded that interest. And it was like they kept on pushing, from the way the culture was, they kept on pushing you towards being your own person. Even if you were managing a branch, you had to manage it with that mindset of being an entrepreneur. And the moment I found that course, I knew it was for me. Not that I set out my mind I was going to be a business owner immediately, but I really keyed into it.
Excellent, excellent. It's very interesting start to my conversation with Mo Beckley, Mo Beckley, Managing Director, CEO of Bringitbay Limited. We'll be right back.
Who knows Abi better thing? Abi who know like better thing? All these fine things where they see so. Now money government they take do am now. Abi, I saying it's like, you know, I mean, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. If you pay your tax, I pay oh.
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back. I'm having this inspiring conversation with a young Nigerian entrepreneur, Mo Beckley, better known as Mo Beckley. He set up a company called Bringitbay Limited, and he's practicing the entrepreneurship that he learned in school. So let me ask you this question. You did your first degree in economics at LASU. You did this MSc in entrepreneurship and innovation at Essex Business School. So you can compare the functionality of your education, the intensity, the application, and all of that. Do a comparison between Nigeria and Britain and how...
In terms of the education you get, it's obvious that there is more application. I mean, when it comes to what I learned at the business school, it's intense. The volume of work done, the number of books you have to read, you are very conscious. You cannot copy people's works without acknowledging something. I really, really...
you didn't know until you get there.
Yeah, I had to inculcate that. And you have to carefully, you know, all the journals you use, you have to, anything you reference, because there's a software they have that checks all the things. Wow. So you need to also present some sort of original work while referencing these other people as well. So there's that intensity and that volume of work which you get to use. And then they also emphasize coming up with solutions of your own. They emphasize using case studies to come to conclusions and also solution-driven approach. There's the theoretical part of it, and then they use the theoretical part to also support the practical. So everything comes together at once. I read over 150 books in 1 year. I almost thought I wouldn't make it. I know of some people who broke down. They thought people had to encourage them because it was just voluminous. It was voluminous.
And let's talk about translating your project, your MSc project, into Bringitbay Limited. Now, Bringitbay is all you live on, right?
It is.
And you're married.
Fully.
You have a family.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you did this project in an entrepreneurship and innovation class.
Yes. And
it became your business.
Yes.
Tell us about that transition. Actually now creating Bringitbay and turning it into a live business.
The first thing which I would tie back to the school was the ability to recognize opportunities, which was what the things we learned in school pushed. You know, that was what it enhanced. And recognize an opportunity and go after it. When we started Bringitbay, it was basically we started with only fashion, because the initial thing my business plan was about the fashion industry, because it showed how massive the fashion industry is, how an item leaves a shop in China for $1, and by the time it gets to the retail store, it's already $20. That $19 is added after the item leaves the factory, and the margin actually goes into the pockets of the retailers. It's that huge. So I looked at it and I said, there's an opportunity here. And that was what the school taught me how to do. And bringing it back to Bringitbay, we started with fashion, and then people started asking for all sorts. Oh, I want a camera. Oh, I want an electronic. Oh, I want a breast pump feeder. And I was like, well, when we started this thing, we didn't really think of it that way. We thought it was just easy to just get a shirt, a jacket. We were like, oh, please get it for me. I prefer Canon. I prefer. And we said, okay, you know what? Let's include that. So the ability for us to keep recognizing that there were opportunities that we could take advantage of. We were only doing UK when we started. Eventually, people wanted things from US. Could we do it? Yes, we started doing US a year after. And what it meant was the volume of business we started growing. It was bootstrapped. It was a couple of myself and a couple of friends. We bootstrapped it. We got a very bare bone website. But the key thing was there was functionality. People wanted what we were offering, and we gave it to them. Now, the ability for the sustainability, and for us to see the sustainability of the business, was based on the demand, and it kept on growing. It kept growing. People were obviously, I wasn't prepared for it because that wasn't my plan initially, and I started having to learn how to keep my books, learning how to realize that cash in the bank and the cash on my books, I had to learn a whole system of accounting, business etiquette, good corporate governance, which is a big problem with a lot of small business owners. So those were the things we started doing. In the middle of it, I got married, and I thank God for my wife, because she supported it. She supported the idea. It wasn't easy, but the key thing was that the opportunity and the projection of that opportunity was there. It was viable in the long run, and it's kept us till today.
How long ago was this?
This was 2009. I got back in 2009.
This is 4 years ago.
This is 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Let's take a short time out, Mo. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. It's still the Policy Council, and I'm talking to Mo Beckley of Bringitbay Limited. Mo, there's an interesting fact I saw in your CV. Okay. You wrote a book called The Complete Guide to Borrowing.
Yes, I did.
And I saw something about the full rights to that book having been acquired by GT Bank.
Yes.
So tell me about that book. That came obviously out of your 3-bank career in Access, GT, and Stanbic.
Yes, I happen to have had the privilege to work in the retail arm of banking while I was in the bank. And there was a constant stream, constant barrage of these questions from people coming to us and asking for loans, asking for overdrafts, asking for... They just wanted to make their business better. But basically it was, they believed if I came to the bank and asked for a loan, after saving for a few months, the bank should give me a loan. And it sort of bothered me that there was no guide any person could just pick up and say, you know what, let me just read this thing and let me just understand what it is. Obviously, if you schedule the meeting with the bank, the person will probably give you 15 minutes of their time and then go through the whole big words and everything, and then you probably might not understand. So what I tried to do was create a guide that would break down everything. And it happened to have been read by my group head, who was impressed with the whole thing being put together, and she referred me to the head office, and it took off from there. And the bank was interested in something similar, something along that line, and
they paid you for it?
Yes, I was paid for it.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go back to Bringitbay. How do you describe Bringitbay? What if you were to describe to us the way you perceive your business? How do you describe it?
It's mainly it's in the logistics industry. It's in logistics, procurement, and shipping company powered by technology. The beauty of it is we basically help consumers aggregate everything and help them move things from point A to B. So you've bought something, you've given it to your aunt in Houston, in Texas, in Manchester, we come in. Or you haven't bought, you're having difficulties, we come in there, we help you move it. Our basic thing is moving that item from point A to B seamlessly so that you don't have any tears, you don't have any problems with clearing, you don't have any problems with duties, customs, shipping. We do all that for you, and all you just need to do is you take the item, you pay, and then receive the items.
Now, let me ask you: is there a possibility that you were just leveraging the gap, the period in which e-commerce networks are not wide enough in Nigeria? Today, people can probably order themselves and receive themselves. Would that disintermediate you from the market?
No, not at all. What has happened is a couple of stores, whether locally or let me say internationally, still don't deliver outside their location.
Their countries.
So in the case where they still allow you to pay, they wouldn't take a card domiciled outside their country, or they wouldn't make a payment, a delivery to a location outside their domain. That's one. And then in some other situations, you also have high-ticket transactions because we get to buy specialized equipment, we get to buy items that require some form of authentication and verification supervision afterwards. So what we do is our partners over there do all that groundwork for you, make calls, go back and forth, and then everything is just delivered to you here.
Excellent. Let's talk about e-commerce, which seems to have received a boost in let's say
last 3 years.
Last 2-3 years, yes. How do you see this sector?
I would start by referencing the UK. I was reading a document yesterday. It's the British Retail Council, something of that nature, and they referred to retail industry in the UK worth 321 billion pounds, and
321 billion
pounds. E-commerce alone was doing 50 billion pounds of that. Now, the 321 billion pounds obviously includes all the high street stores, people walking into stores, and they were doing an average of about, I think, 28 pounds per transaction for 60 million people in the UK. And e-commerce had 50 billion pounds of that. I think it was about 21 billion pounds in 2012, and it's doubled. And it will keep doubling. In the US as well, the statistics actually show that more people have migrated from buying physically online. The advantages include the ability for you to, for example, you are buying razors. You can actually just subscribe for the razors to be delivered to you every month. You don't need to always go back there. So, and then you have people who like books, like yourself.
Like me.
Yeah, so you have people who like books, who want the latest titles from certain authors, or they want the latest titles. They can easily, automate their buying process once that book is out. So you have a constant stream of ability for the retailer to have access to your pocket. So that sector will keep growing. And then you now have the convenience. I'm seated right here. I don't need to walk into the traffic, the sun, the rain to make my purchase. Somebody can actually bring it to me.
And you've done that for me like 4 times in the last
last
3
weeks.
3 weeks.
Yes. So you have that convenience of the ability to pick from almost millions of items online at the tips of your fingers, the tips of your mouse. And that's so much unparalleled. It's so unequivocal. You just have access to these items at a go from one place. The ability for you to go, for example, to a retail store the items you have there is limited.
In one store.
In one store. But here you have everything at your fingertips.
Excellent. Let's take a final time out and conclude on the e-commerce market in Nigeria. We look at how the space has changed within the Nigerian market and what Bringitbay Limited brings to that. We'll be right back.
Government wants our city to become a mega modern city. And so, government is providing modern markets for us to carry out our business. Now, this requires money. So, we need to pay our taxes to help government to help us. I pay my taxes. I hope you've paid yours. I pay. Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
You're welcome back. It's my last segment with Mo Beckley, Morakin of Beckley. He's the CEO of Bringitbay Limited. His website is bringitbay.com. And he's, as he calls it, a logistics provider, helps you move things from A to B, leveraging technology. So it's within the wider e-commerce space. Mo, you spoke about e-payments and e-commerce, how it's developed in the UK, in the outside world. But in Nigeria, we've seen what looks like a mini revolution as well, perhaps particularly in the last 2 years, helped by CBN, cashless, helped by the evolution, the growth of some specific names that have put money behind it. What has been your own experience within that sector, how you've seen the sector growing, what you see as the projections going forward, and how Bringitbay Limited has performed within that space?
Initially, it was I'd say a bit tough in the sense that Nigerians hadn't seen something like that before. So a lot of people couldn't really put their monies there. The trust hadn't been built. But the coming of the big players actually opened a lot of people's eyes to the opportunities, and people started seeing that, oh, you know what, if foreigners can actually come to invest in our country, then definitely there is something here. People don't want if the banking revolution passed them by, if the Nollywood revolution passed them by. And then this is the e-commerce revolution at the start of it. Why don't I become part of it? So initially, we had the hiccups. But the moment everything started coming together, and it's becoming significant because we're having, big players from outside the country invest in a lot of startups, and it's rubbed off on us. Yeah. I would say in that industry, at least for our own business, year on year we've been growing minimum of 50%.
Wow.
Yeah, year on year we're growing minimum of 50%. But because you have costs you have to deal with, at the start it's a bit Herculean. You have expenses, you must overcome those expenses, and you have to break even. So we have broken even. However, the opportunity is huge. I know of people, the large players are doing 25 million a day transactions. We are not doing that. But yes, we are actually growing at 50% year on year. Excellent. I'm not sure there are so many industries in Nigeria growing 50% year on year. There are some, but I'm not sure there are so many. So yes, e-commerce, technology-backed firms like ours are actually seeing the figures. We're actually reaping the benefits.
Where do you see your company, say, in 5 years' time?
The dream is to be able to grow, create jobs for people. And when I say create jobs, I mean at least minimum of 100 to 200 jobs. The bigger players are doing that already. But the beauty of it is being able to, bring a lot more people into it, create jobs for the economy. And my own personal dream is to see one day for us to list these companies, because the true validation of any commercial enterprise is for the general public to buy and invest into the business.
And where do you see yourself personally, say, in 10 years' time?
In 10 years' time, running businesses much bigger, much stronger, and basically encouraging other people to do same, trying to bring a culture of entrepreneurship. And an open culture that encourages people to just live their dreams, take calculated risks, and monetize these risks.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back. Young men like Mo Beckley give me hope that Nigeria has a chance and that perhaps our future is brighter than our current conditions suggest. We've seen a very inspiring story aided by a functional educational system that transforms business plans into live businesses, into jobs, into successful careers, and into sustainable institutions. I commend his example to many more of our people. We need to create entrepreneurs in large numbers, in thousands and millions. But to do that, we need to give people the right education at the very basics, and of course, at higher levels, the right entrepreneurial education. The other point I take from this discussion is the possibilities that technology, e-commerce, e-payments create for our economy. Policy has made some of those opportunities realizable, but now the explosion should start. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.